Hi, my name is Angela, giving you news Angie's Way. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, the second season of Surviving R. Kelly came out. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, my trigger fingers itching for your pension, so I'm...
Okay, I have my iPad just because I took some notes and I want to make sure that I have everything that we need to talk about. This episode is based on Tiffany and pretty much Ebony. And Aaliyah. Aaliyah was in this as well. But Tiffany was the first girl that R. Kelly raped. I'm not going to say molest because he raped these little girls. They were underage. He's a rapist. All right, so Tiffany was an inspiring singer. She could sing very well. Matter of fact, the teacher that taught R. Kelly at the high school that he went to, and she actually went to the same high school, also was her teacher. She took her under her wings because of her voice. So one day, R. Kelly, and I believe he was actually in the neighborhood or he was at the school, because we know that he did pick up girls from the school. So her and her friends saw him, and quite naturally, you're an inspired singer, and R. Kelly is the biggest star in Chicago at the time. Yes, you want to meet up with R. Kelly. Yes, you want to see if he will collaborate with you. Yes. So she and her girlfriends, they walk up to him and she introduces herself and she tells him, her aspirations of singing. And so, he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. I want to hear you. So you come to the studio and you bring, or I don't know if they went to the house or the studio. I'm sure it was the studio because he did have a room in the studio where he had beds or a bed. So he invited her over, whether it was the studio or the house. He invited her over and he told her to bring friends. And so if you think about it, quite naturally, because R. Kelly, when you decide that you're going to molest children, you think everything out. Okay. So more than likely, you're not going to go to R. Kelly's house by yourself as a child or even adult woman, really, because you want to bring somebody with you just in case things don't go right. Most smart people will do that. So he figured he'd play on their intelligence by saying, oh, bring your friends with you. And so she's like, okay, it's cool then, because he wants me to bring my friends. He's not the creepy guy who wants me to come alone. So he's playing on their intelligence. So she brings her friends. And so she said that her friends are having sex with R. Kelly. He's not bothering her, but he's having sex with her friends. And so before this little orgy took place, he let her sing, and he was flabbergasted by her voice. He was just overtaken by her voice because she could actually really sing. But that didn't derail him from messing with her friends. So he was having sex with her friends one by one. She went into the room and he was just going from girl to girl. Now, these are young girls that's probably starstruck, because women do it too. And they see their other girlfriend doing it, so they thinking that it's okay for them to do it. And you know what? It's R. Kelly. So just put that as a notch in your diary that you slept with R. Kelly. So he played on their vulnerability. He really did. So he didn't touch her for a while. And then I guess one of his accomplices, the people who were complicit of what he was doing, because when you think about it, he had people around him that made these arrangements for these little girls to come to see him. And these grown men were complicit of what was going on because they knew these girls were underage. You cannot tell me that they did not know these girls are underage. They knew they were underage, but they didn't care because it was R. Kelly. And apparently, these girls were probably, to them, they were, hot in the pants. And they wanted it. And so they, within themselves, allowed this man to rape these girls. And in their mind, it was okay because these girls pretty much wanted it because they allowed him to do it. It is still against the law to have sex with a girl under 18. It is statutory rape. So you got to think about it. R. Kelly is the type of guy, and there's not that many people in this world that are like him. There are some strange, possessed people who prey on children. He's a pedophile, but he's also a rapist. And what he does is he gets into their mind that he's their big brother, because he kept telling Tiffany, I'm your big brother. And so he just like put her under his wings, like, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do things for you. So he would buy stuff for her. He would feed her. And so at one point she moved in with him. And then that's when the raping started. She says she only did it because she felt like she had to, because it was her way of moving forward in life and actually trying to, he would be able to, by her doing this, then hopefully he will help her with her music career. That was an R. Kelly thing. He did try to help her. He did do some things in helping her and trying to appease her just to keep her on that leash of constantly having sex with him. So she hooked up with Aaliyah. And at the time, Aaliyah and R. Kelly had gotten married. She said Aaliyah became her best friend. And she said that her other friends got upset with her because she would spend more time with Aaliyah and not them. And that's typical how females are. They get very possessive of their friends. And so she ended up in Aaliyah's video, and I'm not sure which video it was. It was the video where Aaliyah had the bandana on and sunglasses and looking like she was a gangbanger. And so the girl to her right was Tiffany. And Tiffany was the backup singer for Aaliyah. And she said that they became very close. And she was happy that Aaliyah married R. Kelly, because that meant that he wouldn't touch her anymore. That somebody else he would be occupied with having sex with. And so once Aaliyah's family found out that he had forged her birth certificate so that she can get married, and mind you, it's his managers, it's his people who are around him that are actually implementing these actions for him to rape these girls. And the family gets a whiff of it because it was Aaliyah's uncle who introduced her to R. Kelly, and R. Kelly was the one who produced, wrote, and did the cover album of Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. So I'm a big R. Kelly fan. Well, I should say was a big R. Kelly fan. And so a lot of people say you can detach the artist from the music. The things that he did was terrible, but his music is great. I don't see it that way. You know why? Because those lyrics in those music are based on what he was doing to these young girls. You remind me of my Jeep. Age Ain't But a Number. These lyrics, and especially 12 Play. Now, 12 Play was my favorite song because I'm thinking, here's an adult man, having adult lyrics about adults. We doing our thing. And so I love that song. But then when all this came out about him raping these girls, then I was like, oh my God, no, he's talking about these little girls. He's sure he dated a few women, but not a lot like what most men of his age, he's what, 52 now? He may have dated, that we know of, is like 3 grown women, but the rest of them were girls. And so his lyrics are infiltrated, they're entwined with the person. So I can't separate it. So I don't listen to his music. His music is no longer in my Apple Play. And I just can't separate. So that's just me, but I can't separate it. So anyway, all this goes on with Tiffany, and she ends up getting pregnant. So Aaliyah family found out that he was that he had married her, so they got rid of that. She signed an NDA, and an NDA is a disclosure saying that we're going to settle, but neither one of us can talk about it. So she settled, and then you're not going to tell people how much you settled for. So she settled for a lot, and she moved on with her life. So they got their marriage annulled because she was underage, and she moved on. And so the family never talked about it. She never talked about it, and she later on started dating Dana Dash. And so Tiffany gets pregnant, and she pretty sure. But the thing to me, when she said, now if she's only having sex with R. Kelly, then she should know that it's R. Kelly's baby. But in the segment, she said that she's almost sure it was R. Kelly's baby. So that made me think that, now R. Kelly had a lot of men around him. And so I'm thinking that because it's based on R. Kelly, I don't want you to talk about the other parameters, because then they'll implicate more people and that take the story somewhere else. But I'm thinking, because I know for a fact that these guys that were around R. Kelly were also raping these girls. Because how come you only having sex with him, but you don't say it's definitely his baby? So I picked up on that. So just watch the episode and, see what you get out of it as well. So anyway, so she tells him that. And so he tells her, and pretty much I'm paraphrasing, he tells her, that I know that we're not doing this. We're not having no babies. So you need to figure that out, because I'm not the daddy. But I love you anyway. Smooches. So she was heartbroken, as she should be. You're telling me you love me, but then when I get pregnant, you're saying, oh no, I don't love you that much. So she went through depression. She tried to kill herself, and I don't know if she lost the baby because she tried to she took some pills to overdose. So I don't know if she lost the baby because of that, or she had an abortion. That they didn't get to the details of that. So after all that went down, she still yearned for R. Kelly, because he lavished these little girls with all kinds of, gifts. He gave them what they really needed to keep them in the loop. And it's like a cult. You give people what they need, whether it's spiritual, natural, or physical. You give them what they need to keep them in the loop. Like Jim Jones. People were starving for spiritual uplifting, and so he was able to give that, and it was particularly a lot of women that he did this to. And so because his congregation was mostly women, and they fell for that, and of course many of them died because they drank the poison Kool-Aid. So R. Kelly is like a cult. He is an occult. He is an occult. So she, she depressed and everything. And so she calls him. And so, at this point, he can't talk to her anymore because now he may be exposed. So he tells her, oh no, let me back up. So she hires a lawyer, and they go to Chicago Police Department to tell them about what was going on. She even had witnesses. She had all kinds of stuff. She had her receipts on the things that R. Kelly was doing to her and the other girls. She even had Aaliyah part of a witness as a witness as well. And so Chicago police didn't do anything. They didn't believe her, so they didn't do anything. So then her lawyers decided to take it to the next level, which is a civil. Since they couldn't get him on criminal charges, let's get him on civil charges, because now we can sue him and have him liable so he can pay her for the damage that he's done to her life. So the lawyer that was assigned to her actually worked for another lawyer, which was a female. I can't remember her name. She was an older white woman. It was her office, her law firm, and this guy works for her. And so she decided to go after R. Kelly monetarily. So Tiffany ended up getting $250,000, and she signed an NDA. Did she sign an NDA? I think she did sign an NDA. I'm not sure. I got to watch that again. But anyway, she ended up, let me look at my notes. Yeah, she did. She did sign an NDA. That's why I kept my notes. She signed an NDA that she couldn't talk about it. But now that he's under criminal charges, she can talk about it because he's indicted now. So those NDAs are like washed away. So after that, she lost desire to sing. So she's still feeling low because she needed R. Kelly. She had a hard time. She had a disconnect with her mom. Her mom was dating a guy that was abusive to the mom and to the children. And so she blamed the mom for dating this guy because he was, he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do by her, nor by her and her brother and sisters, or her brother or sister. I'm not sure. She just said siblings. And so there was a disconnect. And so the spirit that's in R. Kelly preyed on disconnected children who weren't close to their families, children who didn't have father figures in their life. So there was a huge disconnect. And so she didn't have a family closeness. So she always looked to R. Kelly. And besides, R. Kelly could give her what her mother couldn't give her. And so after she did all she did, she still wanted to interact with him. So she gives him a call. And at this point, he can't talk to her. So he tells her, we can't talk anymore. And she felt devastated. And so her life has never been the same because of that. Let me just tell a story. Because when I was growing up, my father was very strict. And matter of fact, I was a virgin until I was 18. And then when I turned 18, I rebelled because it's like, I'm grown now, I'm gonna do my thing, But I remember when I was in high school, I was 14. And this teacher, he was a substitute teacher, and he substituted for my Spanish teacher because he was out ill. He was an older guy, and he was out ill. And so, all the young girls and he was a handsome young man. Back in the day, you knew teachers were adults. You didn't really know how young they were. I didn't find that out till later on in life that there's some teachers that are like 21, 22 years old once they finish college, start teaching. And so, but nevertheless, they are adults. And so all the girls in the classroom, they were like, "Oh, he's so cute. Oh, he's so fun, blah, 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 blah." And I'm saying, yeah, he is. But he took a liking to me. I wasn't the one that was going, "Oh, yeah, he's so cute, blah, blah, blah." And so he didn't prey on them. He took a liking to me. And so I remember, because I even to this day remember how this guy looks. I remember his little short fro. He was light skinned. He was about 5'8", 5'9". He wasn't that tall, but he was very attractive. And I remember him always giving me those looks. And I had a strong connection with my father and my mother. And I knew that those looks were not right. Within me, I knew they weren't right. And so one day, I'm going up the flight of stairs in the hallway. And he's behind me. And when I get to the platform, I turn around and he's like, "Hey, Ansel, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing all right." And he grabbed me, and we're in the hallway, and there's no one around because it was during lunchtime, so everybody was in the cafeteria. I don't even know why I went back upstairs. I think I was going upstairs to get something from the class. And so he grabbed me, and when he grabbed me, I went through those double doors and flew out of there like a bat out of hell, because I knew that wasn't normal and that it wasn't right. I never told my parents, because I knew if I told my father, hell would break loose, because Mr. Reeves didn't do stuff like that, and Mr. Reeves didn't tolerate stuff like that. So I never told my parents, but I remember. And so I said that, I'm saying that because men will try to prey on girls. There are some men who won't take that extra step. There are some men who will take the extra step. I'm not going to say there's a lot of men that will take the extra step, because there's not a lot of pedophiles out there compared to, the population. There's more people who are actually upstanding, because I want to believe that, than are devious and pedophile. Now, there are men who will look at a woman or look at a young girl and say, "Oh, she looks good, blah, blah, blah," but they won't take the extra step. R. Kelly was the type that would take the extra step. And once he found out that he can get away with it, he continued. And then he had his surroundings, people from the industry to his entourage to his managers, complicit and engaging. Because I believe, and I may be wrong, but I believe that some of these people also raped some of these girls. So now Ebony was Tiffany's friend, and so Ebony, she was devastated a different way. Each girl had their unique way of dealing with this trauma from R. Kelly. And so she was talking about how she thought he loved her and that he cared about her. But then he turns around in front of her, start having sex with another girl, and that just broke her down. And so that's what that spirit does. It breaks you down. It attacks your self-esteem. It attacks your emotions. And it makes you feel less than a person. It does. And so she dealt with it in a different way. And Tiffany said she felt real bad for Ebony. And they didn't really get into the details. I'm sure Ebony is probably going through therapy. But she handled this a little differently than some of the girls. And so now let's talk about his brothers. So he has a younger brother, and he has an older brother. So R. Kelly, when the heat was coming on that he was having sex with these young girls, underage girls, especially this one girl who aunt was in the first episode, and she was the girl that he had the videotape. They caught him on videotape, and she actually was 12 or 13 when she started hanging around R. Kelly. And it wasn't that she was hanging around R. Kelly by herself, because she had family members who were actually was around at the time. But they just didn't know that he was molesting or raping the little girl. And so R. Kelly wanted his brother to take the fall for him. And so R. Kelly offered his brother money, cars, whatever it is. I want you to say that it was you in the video and not me. And so his brother's like, ain't that much money in the world for me to even do something like that. I'm not taking your fall. So he declined to do so. Now, the older brother, he's in jail, but he to me strike like he's somewhat like his brother, R. Kelly. That they have something in common. Because he's going to say when the commentator was asking him, did he think that he knew that did he think that the women knew that they were being videotaped by R. Kelly? He said, "Oh yeah, they know, they know." So then she switched it around. So, did you know? Has he ever videotaped you? And so he was like, "Yeah, he did." And so, and he's going to say, "Well, I didn't know though." So these women knew, but you didn't know. Really? And so he says that R. Kelly showed him the tape because he was having sex with two women, and R. Kelly videotaped it, and then R. Kelly showed him the tape. And so he was like, he couldn't believe it. So why would you not think that R. Kelly would do this? If he did it to you, of course he did it to these other women. So he's a little wishy-washy. I'm not sure about that brother. And the younger brother said that when R. Kelly started really sleeping with your little girls, that R. Kelly, he's always filmed it. So he always did videotapes. So he did videotape, and on this videotape was white girls. And so he happened to get this videotape because he thought it was some, I think it was Jurassic Park or something like that, some movie. And so he ended up taking it from R. Kelly, and R. Kelly didn't even know that he had it. He ended up taking the video so he can watch the movie, and it's R. Kelly having sex because he had redubbed the movie. It's R. Kelly having sex with white girls, little white girls. So he immediately takes to his brothers like, you can't be doing this because you get caught with these white girls, it's on and popping, and it ain't gonna take long for that to happen. And so I don't know if that's why R. Kelly changed his ways and started to prey on black girls. But I do know if he had continued to mess with young white girls, he would have been in jail a long time ago. Because these are black girls, a lot of them from the hood. They have disconnected families. They're broken. And nobody cares about them. Even Chicago police, after Tiffany showed them all the receipts, did not investigate. So now it takes a woman, ADA, district attorney, to bring up charges against R. Kelly. And I'm glad that they're bringing charges against R. Kelly because the things that he's done to these little girls, and you can't say he didn't do it because he did. He did. There's a pattern. They all got to worship him. They all got to call him daddy. They can't talk to nobody else but him. They got to break away from their families. And so you can't tell me that he didn't do these things. And the reason why he wanted these girls to be isolated from their family so he can do what he wanted to do. It's just like the two girls, Jocelyn and I can't even think of the other girl's name, but you know her name. And those two, when they were on CBS talking to Gayle King, those two were in love with him, but he wasn't going to marry not one of them. And if he married one, what was going to happen to the other one? Because you can't marry both of them. Unless you want to live in, what's that town that people live in, polygamy, where Utah. Unless you want to move to Utah, he wasn't going to do that. And become a Mormon, because you have to be under that religion, I guess, to get away with that. You marry one and then you have other women as your wives, and it's okay in that religion. So he wasn't converting to to be a Mormon. So I'm you know, it was the hold that he had on these two girls, and I think one left already, and so one is still there. But I think after a while, the other one gonna have to leave too, because his money gonna run out. Eventually, his money gonna run out. And he does have enablers though, because people are paying some of his bills. Somebody is paying for those girls to stay at the Trump Towers if they're still there. Somebody's paying for those girls to eat. There's a lot of enablers that are helping R. Kelly, and they're not just black folks. Don't get it twisted. It ain't just black folks. You gotta remember, during slavery, white men raped our ancestors, whether they were young men or young women. The slave masters, most of them, because slaves were considered animals. And get this, but they're considered animals, but yet you're sleeping with them. So Beastology, I guess. I don't know. But we weren't animals. We were human beings. That's maybe how they were thinking. But so that element has not changed. We are still dealing with racism, and people are still doing things behind the scenes. And so I believe that's why they allowed R. Kelly to do what he was doing. As long as he was making money for them, they can care less what he was doing in his private life. And so that's the end of this segment. I want you to watch it because it's very interesting, of these ladies. And until next time, deuces.